Hi, everyone. I'm Steve here with Pastor Victor Brote. Thanks for being with us, Pastor.
So great. So great to be here.
So what you're going to read today in Deuteronomy, I think is a good example. It's kind of a good guideline for us because, we're supposed to be good stewards of the resources that God gives us. And so sometimes we need to behave very businesslike and be responsible, make it grow, managing the talents. There's examples of that. But excuse me, this is an interesting one. And so why don't you go ahead and read it?
Sure. It's Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19. I'll repeat that. Deuteronomy 23:19. That's the second book of the Bible, the Old Testament. Do not charge a fellow Israelite interest, whether on money or food or anything else that may earn interest. Wow. There is a paradigm in God's economy that is different than the American economy by far. What we've done is we've kind of gotten ourselves into a trap where the interest keeps growing and growing and growing because we take this habit of just expanding the interest, the economic rate of what we're doing. And so even now it's like they're trying to cut it down. The Fed is trying to cut it down to 2%, which is just, it's nowhere near, because we're spending so much, because we're borrowing so much. And that has put us back against the wall, and people will likely have less in their retirement, less value in their house, everything because of this attitude of we've got to have everything now, pay for it later. If you do the math on almost any house, even when it was, say, 3%, that house, to pay it off over the years, over 30 years, you will actually be paying for two houses. So you get your house, and while you're working hard, you've built another house for the banker, and you're giving it to him for free. That's what's going on. And it's so crazy that we look at things in this paradigm of I've got to have it now and I'll pay for it later. And it ends up trapping us, and we hardly even understand it. You got something to say on that, Steve?
Yeah. I got a interesting take. Yeah, I get that. I just have a whole different take on this one. And that is, okay, he's saying he's talking about us lending, right? So what he says, don't lend and collect interest. So in that case, he's talking to me. Don't lend to your neighbor. When he says fellow Israelite, don't lend to your community, your tribe, or whatever you want to call it, and charge them interest when it's something like food, because that would be taking advantage of someone who is kind of desperate. If they don't have food, you don't want to make money. He's saying don't make money on them by lending them money for food or giving them food and requiring an increased payback or interest on what you're loaning them, because that would be taking advantage of them. And that's what I get out of that verse.
Yeah, you're pretty desperate when you're trying to borrow for food. It's not a good situation.
Right. And if you're the lender, don't take advantage of that situation. So always love hearing your take and your input on these passages, Pastor. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.